Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You are watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and today I have another fascinating woman to share with you, and her name is Raquel Torenberg. She is a sociologist and expert on social analysis in Mexico City. Raquel, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy Sunday in Mexico City to share your expertise and knowledge with us regarding the coronavirus.
Thank you, Jennylyn. For me, it's a great pleasure being with you today.
And I cannot wait to share you with my viewers because I always have so much pride for accomplished women.
Thank you.
And I think most women are. It's just that those of us who are experts in a field always have so much to share. So why don't we start with what it means to be a sociologist and an expert on social analysis in Mexico City?
Thank you. Well, actually, that's been my field of expertise. I've been a teacher for many, many years, researcher, and what I do today is I'm a college professor at the university. I teach education and I teach sociology also. I'm a speaker in different forums. So it's very interesting for a sociologist to be able to look at the society like the Mexican society, which is so plural, with so many cultures inside, with so much folklore inside. So it's always very interesting, not only the Mexican society, but societies in general. So that's why I love what I do.
It sounds like a fun job.
It is.
So are you a native of Mexico?
Yes, I was born in Mexico City. My parents were born in Mexico City. So actually, I'm a second generation in Mexico City.
And what have you noticed over the years in Mexico City? Has it grown? Is it the same? What are your views on that?
Well, I can tell you, I grew up in this city, which used to be a quiet city, a very, very safe city. Actually, when I tell people that when I was little, I used to go out in the street alone. No supervision of parents, of anybody, on the bicycle, take a bus, go everywhere. Now it's unthinkable to think to send a child alone on a bus or in the subway. It's a very unsafe city. Actually, Mexico has grown to be a very unsafe country. And it's a huge city that has grown tremendously. We're over 20 million people in this city, very polluted city. Still a very interesting city because you can find theater, museums, art, restaurants. It's a huge, wonderful city, but it has many of the problems of the huge cities. So, of course, it has changed a lot. I can tell you that I used to look at the beautiful volcanoes we have outside of Mexico City. I used to look at them every day when I was a little child, and now for many, many years, it has been possible. Now the coronavirus crisis has stopped the pollution, at least for a while, and now we're looking at the volcanoes again every day. So that's one of the advantages.
Bright side of the coronavirus.
Yeah, that's the
bright side.
Absolutely.
I know that us humans are complaining, but I think that the atmosphere, the earth, is very happy that we've been forced in the house because it can breathe.
Absolutely.
So you would not encourage me as a tourist to come to Mexico City to visit after this?
Oh, you? No, I will. I know that.
Come visit you, but if I didn't
No, it's a country that has many things beautiful to be, not only the ruins, museums, art. I can tell you it's a huge, beautiful city. And sometimes when you hear from the outside, it sounds worse than what it really is. I can tell you, I go out, well, I used to go out every day with my car and return sometimes late. And well, you have to be careful, but it's not impossible. People go out at nights. You can see Saturdays, Sundays, Fridays, full of people in the restaurants, in the museums. So, and as a tourist, well, you have to just be careful, like in every huge city, you have to be careful.
Yes, because I've heard rumors that it's not a safe city. There's so many times I have wanted to go there, and I was told it's not a safe time to go to Mexico.
It's not wonderful, but I think you go to the right places with the right company of tourism, then there's so much to see that it's worth it. It really is.
You are a professor at which university?
At Universidad Anáhuac, which is a Catholic university that have several branches in Mexico and other parts of Mexico. And it's a very good university, so I'm very proud to be part of it.
Yes, it sounds like a country with such rich culture. I
Yeah.
have gone to Cabo.
Oh, okay.
I really enjoyed it.
It's beautiful.
And then my very first impression of Mexico was Tijuana.
Oh, no,
Is
that's
that
not a good
true?
impression.
And that was the impression I was left with, because, you know, first impressions always sort of set the trend for how you will think of something.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, I thought that's what happened in all of Mexico.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And we have beautiful cities and beautiful beaches and resorts to be visited as Los Cabos. So I hope one day you can do it.
Well, I went back and I went to Cabo, and then I realized that in this case, first impression was not the correct one.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's one of the impressions.
Yes,
Yeah.
so it sounds like Mexico City is being hit pretty hard by COVID-19.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to based on your knowledge?
Well, first of all, we know that the first COVID patients came from the outside. So it's a country that receives many people from the outside. Many people travel abroad. So unfortunately, we brought cases from New York or from Colorado or from Spain or from Italy. And unfortunately, decisions were taken very, very late. We knew when we heard about the Italian experience, the German experience, the Spanish experience, and unfortunately many people came to the country, and nobody, when they arrived on the plane, nobody decided to see if they had a fever, if they had the COVID-19, if they had to stay 15 days without going out. So those people started in the huge cities like Mexico City or Monterrey or Guadalajara or the big cities where people travel and go back and forth. Unfortunately, that's how it started. And now we're in phase 3. And unfortunately, what I heard is the panorama is not so good. We know from our government that apparently we have around 7,000 cases.
Wow.
Yeah, which is, but
the entire country or just
in the whole country. But I talked to a physician, and he's very knowledgeable, and he says you have to think about 8 times higher. It's not 7,000, probably 60 or 60,000, unfortunately. And what we do know is that we have almost a 10% death rate, which is a lot. Because countries that were able to control it had 1%, 3%. We know Italy had 13%, but 10%, is that what we know? We already heard that many of the private hospitals are full and they're not able to receive more COVID patients because, as you know, hospitals divide their efforts between COVID and other patients who get sick as normal people get sick. But unfortunately, what we heard is that they don't have the ability to receive more patients. We almost have no testing, which is one of the secrets that, for example, Singapore had, that they had so much testing that they knew who was sick and who could get sick, and that's what we don't have it. Only people who have the symptoms have the opportunity to receive a test. So the panorama, the picture doesn't look any optimistic. It doesn't look good.
No, it sounds quite worrying.
Yeah.
So has your government mandated that everyone stay at home?
No, they recommended that phase 3 people should stay home. And unfortunately, Mexico is a country that has a very big middle class and a very small but very rich high class. But we have a 50% poverty level. Many of them are below the poverty line. So many people have to go out because they have to eat, because they have to provide for their families. So if they don't go out, they won't eat even the same day. So unfortunately, those mandates cannot be real because the government also doesn't have, I don't know if the capability or the will to give people money or food to be able to stay home. So that's not happening. And unfortunately, at the beginning, our government probably a month ago, a month and a half ago, still said, no, nothing's going to happen and you can go out. And there was a month and a half, a huge concert with thousands of people that now we know got sick, many of them. So unfortunately, steps were taken very late. And still, there is such small credibility on our government that people don't take things very seriously. So,
But you know, I've been doing these interviews now for about 5 weeks. And the common thread I've noticed, the countries where they didn't have a lot of cases and deaths, they decided to err on the side of caution.
mm-hmm.
I am surprised that some countries, after hearing of what's happening in China and Italy and these countries in Spain that have been hit so hard, that they wouldn't, you know, take precautions early in the game.
Absolutely.
So would you say then that is your government supporting and helping people while they're on lockdown? Do they have programs in place to help support them?
Well, unfortunately, many of the millions of the 120 millions who were in Mexico are not being provided. The government doesn't have the capability, or probably elder people that in other countries receive food or money in their homes. It's not happening. And probably part of the population is being helped, but many millions are not being helped. So things don't look so good.
Well, that's very sad. How about distance learning? Because I suspect your schools are closed.
Yeah, well, the schools, of course, are closed and universities are closed. And many, well, of course, private institutions have the capability of teaching online. Why? Because, for example, where I teach is a private university. So I'm sure all my students have a computer and I can teach them from my home and they can learn from their homes.
Wow.
In public schools, many of the children, I'm sure that many of the teachers won't have the computers, and many of the children won't have the means to be able to learn. So I don't have the numbers now, but I know that probably outside Mexico City, many of the children don't have because they don't have the means to be able to learn online. So
they are not getting any education at this time. They're just
I don't have the numbers, but what I know on what the means schools have, probably teachers don't have the computers, and probably they don't have even the internet to be able to learn online. Because I can tell you from private schools and what I know from my grandchildren and of course of other families, they receive high education learning, but that's not the case of every child in Mexico, unfortunately.
so sad.
Yeah.
Mexico considered a third world country?
In a sense, you can say that, but it's still a very productive country. That's in the rate. It's a country that produces, that exports a lot. So we could say that the third world part will be of the high amount of people who are poor or under the poverty line. But there's another part who are growing, who produce, who are able to have a decent, good life. So we cannot compare ourselves with countries that are in real economic problems. My concern is what's going to happen after COVID-19. Since the government is not taking, according to my opinion, the right steps even to rescue what we had in the economy. It's taking, on the contrary, it's taking very wrong steps. And it's making, in my opinion, a lot of mistakes in that sense.
Well, I think a lot of countries are going to feel this economically.
Yeah.
And I would imagine some countries more than others.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your main concern?
Yeah, because when we talk about economic problems, always economic problems bring social problems.
Right.
They bring social unrest. They bring people to be angry. They bring people not to be happy on what they had. So it's not only the economic problem. When we think about societies always have effects on what happened in the economic realm, always has an effect in other parts, in the family, and mainly on the social injustice or the social unrest. So Probably that's going to be the scenario.
What is the chief export there? I know that you said you have a lot of, how does your country get its revenue? What type of exports?
The expert on exports?
Yes.
Well, yeah, okay, I didn't understand the question.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
What do you export to make money?
In many areas. I can tell you fruits, vegetables, cars, products for many of the factories, well, oil that is now in not such a good shape. But Mexico exports to the United States huge amounts, and to China and to Europe, many products. It's a big exporters and a big producers of goods.
You export to China? I didn't think that they imported anything from anywhere.
Yeah, we do. We have trade with China. Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like your country should be in an economic, really good, strong standing. Why is it always, I always hear of Mexico spoken of in such a poverty-stricken state all the time. And I wonder why.
Well, we produce many things, and unfortunately, one of them, our main problems is corruption. And corruption is always a disease that hits countries. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, if you come to Mexico City, and I hope you will one day, you'll see huge buildings, beautiful houses, parks, many beautiful areas, not only in Mexico City, but surrounding and the whole country. But unfortunately, many of the governments have been so corrupt that many of the economic advantages have not gone to the right people. They have stayed in a few hands.
That situation is not unique to Mexico.
I know.
It's so sad. I am living for the day when I can see power, no equal corruption next to it.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's when I can say we have arrived.
Probably if women we were in power, that would be less. Probably, I don't know. I'm just guessing.
There you go. It's time women take over the world.
Yeah.
We seem to keep things in check.
Yeah, it's only a guess.
Why do you think that is? You think we have less of an ego issue?
Probably. I don't know. When we take care of our households and we do a pretty good job, so probably we could do the same with countries and with governments. Probably.
Yeah, because if it's not working out with the men, I think it's time we start trying it with women.
We should. We should.
In the United States, we have the best president in the whole world. Anyway, so tell me about COVID-19. How is it affecting you as a person?
Well, fortunately, I have the advantage that I haven't stopped working. I'm working from home, which is a great advantage. And actually, I'm giving lectures from home. And I work also with an organization of women, of empowering women, and I can work from home. So the only thing that I miss, of course, are the family gatherings and seeing my grandchildren. That's my loss, but I can tell you I'm a fortunate one because I live in a nice place and I go out to the street and walk, and that's an advantage. But for me, well, of course, I miss the social and the family gatherings. Yeah. That's my loss, as everybody.
Thank God technology still allows us to see them face to face, and I'm sure you have the luxury of that, but most people probably don't.
Yes.
From when you look out of your window, do you get the impression that the Mexican people are taking this quarantine seriously? Are they?
Well, in the area where I live, absolutely. Because I live in a good area of Mexico City, and you see almost no cars, almost no people. But according to what I see on TV, and I heard of other people, you go to other places and markets are full. And there is a lot of traffic and people are going out. Even some people are making parties. So it's such a huge difference between one area and the other. I can tell you from this area, I'm looking at my beautiful trees and flowers and everything is nice and almost no people in the street. but it's
So
a
the
different
police
reality.
are not policing your streets to keep people off.
No,
That's
not here.
right.
I can see police cars, but
Yeah.
they're looking for our safety. But it hasn't happened like in other countries where policemen are forced, in some states in Mexico City, where the governors of these states are forcing people, actually the police is doing it, but not in Mexico City.
Do you have television programs or they're like educating people on the dangers of this virus and why they need to
Oh,
take
yes,
it
yes.
seriously?
It's happening all the time, and you can hear on the radio, and please stay in. Yeah, that I cannot complain on that. And all the time on the television, we hear it, and we hear the dangers of the COVID. But unfortunately, when you don't hear the same message from everybody, and as I told you, the economic situation doesn't help. How can you tell somebody, don't go out and sell your products? Because if you don't sell them, you don't have enough food for your family to be fed. So it's a very tough situation. It is.
And I get the impression that it's a very big city.
It's huge. It's huge because you have downtown Mexico City, but in the outskirts, the city has grown tremendously. I tell you, it's over 20 million people. So it's a huge, huge city. It's a huge city.
I worry about what's probably going to happen there if you have no kits and if people are not taking it seriously.
Yes.
And your
Yes.
death toll is already skyrocketing.
Yeah.
All you could do is protect yourself, and everybody has to take responsibility.
Yeah.
You feel that the government, some countries, the governments are saying we can't stay on lockdown anymore, the economy is collapsing. Is your government talking about removing the quarantine anytime soon?
Well, actually, they gave at first a date, and they told that by May 15, everything was going to go back to normal. And then now it's May 13, and then they said that schools were going to be open in June. I don't think it's going to happen. Actually, I don't see how it's going to happen since we're starting, and according to what we heard, next week is going to be the worst week on people getting sick. So they gave a date, but I'm sure that's not going to be real.
What yardstick are they using to make that prediction?
Well, what happened in other countries? How long does it take? How many people are getting sick? How many people are going to get sick? The same issues that other countries took, they're using, but I don't see how.
So your numbers continue to escalate.
Yeah, that's for sure. And every day we see it and we hear it. And we're sure, people who are informed, we're sure those numbers are not the truth. So.
And then what about hospitals? Do you have the hospitals to be able to treat these people?
Well,
God forbid it should get worse.
Well, the private hospitals are saying that they're not going to be able to treat more COVID patients. Private hospitals, which are very good hospitals, and public hospitals things are gonna happen like they happen on private hospitals. So, and we don't have enough respirators, and as I told you before, we don't have enough testing. So actually, we cannot know in certainty what's gonna happen, because the only way of knowing is for people to be tested, as that's happening in Singapore or in other countries.
Do you have socialized medicine
Yes.
where you do? So that's one good thing, is that everybody can go to the hospital, but if the hospital doesn't have the means to provide for them, then what's the point?
That's the thing. And actually, there was an agreement now between the government and private hospitals. They have the obligation to take people even if they belong to the social medicine. So yeah, but the thing is that the hospital has a limit on how many patients they can take in. So even with that agreement, things are escalating, and hospitals are not going to be able to take so many people.
And do they have masks and gloves for you, for the citizens, or are they accessible?
Yeah, for a few days they were not. Now we have, and we have gel, and actually in some states I was seeing that the governors were putting even water, running water and soap, even in the streets for people to take care. Yeah, The thing is that
That's
people,
great.
yeah, but people have to be conscious and how dangerous this is.
Yes,
How
yes.
responsible you have to be, not only for yourself, but for others.
You know,
That's,
in California where I live, bleach, Clorox,
yeah.
toilet paper, hand sanitizers, masks, gloves, they're luxury items.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well,
luxurious, you don't even see them.
yeah, it's true. Here too. But you go to the supermarket and you can find almost everything. That we cannot complain about.
Oh, you have everything.
Yeah.
You have masks and gloves. And
Well, that not many, but we have, and Clorox we have.
so you guys are not drinking the Clorox.
No, we're not drinking the Clorox.
Just checking. I just have to check.
Oh, I know.
You know, it's so sad because I think whenever something like this happens, it tells you so much about the people, you know? They just started hoarding stuff. And I'm sure one person has so much of these items tucked away while there's none for other people. And it's just sad how a pandemic or a crisis will really teach you some lessons you don't want to learn.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that one thing that is part of the Mexican culture is that when we had disasters, for example, we had earthquakes. It's a city that has many, many earthquakes. And we had a big one 2 years ago. People show always so much solidarity and helping others. So I'm sure that's happening, and that's happening with the doctors, and that's happening with physicians, with people. But probably because it's an enemy we cannot see, it has become harder. And one thing that has happening also is that many people are rejecting nurses or doctors who live in their areas or in their buildings, and they don't want them to be near the neighbors because they're afraid they're going to be sick if they go near a doctor. And that's horrible.
That is so crazy. These
And that's not
on the line.
And it's not like the Mexicans, because as I tell you, Mexicans, we are very, very close to each other, and it's a very warm country in the sense that people are very close and they hug and they kiss. And I tell you, the earthquake, they showed so much solidarity. I don't know what's happening with this pandemic. It has changed the world. That we can
and I think that forever. I think if it doesn't leave an indelible mark, I would be completely surprised.
Yeah.
What have you learned from this?
Well, as a sociologist, I'll tell you first as a professional, as you told me, of course, the world is going to change. Education is going to change. The way we educate, the way we work, and that, of course, it teaches you that things that you thought were essential are not as essential. There are many things that you can live without and you can manage without. So I think that's the great lesson. I'm enjoying being at home. I enjoy being at home. I enjoy being with my husband. I enjoy doing the things I do at home. And still, I enjoy the opportunity of giving others without the need to go out. So that has been a great lesson, I think.
Well, you're one of the fortunate ones, because I'm hearing of situations where people are getting divorced while they're on lockdown. I think so many families only passed each other and spent very little time together. And suddenly they're together and they have no choice.
And actually that's going to happen also. Relationships with families and family violence has grown everywhere. So of course we're fortunate.
Yes, I know. So the thing with the virus, I think that will really leave everlasting change is, even though they may have a vaccine, I feel this virus will keep mutating. It will always be one step ahead of us. So that will force us to be vigilant and to, take care of ourselves, probably more than some of us did. Some of us always took care of ourselves. And now those people who weren't taking time out to take care of themselves are being forced to.
And actually, I'm thinking about the way Mexicans, the way we are. As I told you, we hug, we kiss, we love to be together. And I don't know, probably that's going to change at least for a while.
That's going to be hard for me because I'm also a very affectionate person and I love to hug people. It's just my way of saying, I really appreciate you. Nice to see you. And so for me, I hope I don't offend anyone because it almost feels instinctive.
Yeah.
And I have to make a conscious effort because even now, when you go to the store and people see you, they like dodge. It has a really weird effect on you because you're not used to it.
Yeah, it's
and
true. We go to the other side of the street if we see someone coming toward us. It's true.
Yes, everybody's doing it, and it's what they have to do, but we're not used to it.
Yeah.
So it takes a minute to click, oh, they have to do this. This is nothing to do with you. They're just protecting themselves and obeying the law. So you do have to practice social distancing in Mexico as well.
Yeah. That's what we're doing, social distancing.
Yes. So does your prime minister, it's a prime minister, right?
No,
not the president.
It's a president.
President. Yeah. So does your president come on television every night and address the nation? And
well, actually, since he started a year ago, he addresses the nation every morning. But regarding the COVID-19, he has the Secretary of State, the Subsecretary of Health, he's the one who addresses the nation every night with facts. And he's a physician and he's a credible figure. And he does it very well. But again, I don't think he's telling us the whole truth.
I think that in every country, I don't see how they could tell us the truth. And the reason I say that, some of them are deliberately smudging the numbers or fudging the numbers because they wanted to look like their country wasn't hit as hard or whatever the reason. Yeah. But I also feel like they have no choice because there's really no way to measure how many people are contaminated because you don't have tests. And without the tests, I think these numbers are coming from reported cases.
Yes, right.
I do believe that they're not telling us all of the people who are dying from it. Probably they don't want to scare us. But I think they should report that because that's what will make people take it seriously. What do you think?
Yeah, it's true. But when it talks about the inability of a government, then of course a government doesn't want to show itself as a government who doesn't know how to do things. So probably that's a reason, and we know the reality is going to be completely different.
Yeah, no government wants to like show the world their vulnerabilities. None, because whenever you have a responsibility, most people want to shine and look like they're the best at whatever.
Yeah.
And so this is why I say egos always seem to get in the way. And that ego problem affects everyone.
Right.
Being affected by that particular government.
Yeah, it happens everywhere. True.
So as a professor,
what
do you plan to change when this quarantine has been lifted and you have to return to the school system in person?
That has been a challenge for me because I have students who are 20 years old and they're so used to technology. And of course, I like technology. It's part of my life. And I've been also a teacher for many, many years. And it has been a great surprise of seeing our students engage on learning. And probably, I don't know if I'm going to change. I do miss the relationship with my students. That's what I miss because I see them, but I don't see them. I miss the part where they work all together. So probably I'm going to engage less in technology and more in other stuff because of course I could not be here. I could send them the presentation and that's it. I think I'm gonna be even closer to them if possible because that's what I miss from my classes.
Yeah, are you able to stay true to your curriculum or are you using a very...
No.
Oh.
And sometimes even have more resources because with technology you can use many, many resources. Yes, but I've been able to do it. The thing is, I miss is the working on groups because I usually give them a lot of opportunity of working together and discussing together, and via Zoom is harder. It's harder.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I'm learning from almost every person that I have interviewed is that they are getting more done from their homes than when they go out to work, wherever that is. Is that true for you?
Yeah, well, think about, well, to park at the university is a whole issue. No, Joe, actually, there is always, students I teach are always joking about the parking space. And I usually get there 45 minutes before. I rather do that, park, and drink a coffee before my class. So of course, and that way, 5 minutes before my class, I go into Zoom and I'm here. So that's a great advantage, and I think that's gonna change. Why do you have to move and make traffic and pollute and use your car if you can be there? So of course you can get a lot more done because you don't have to lose time on going back and forth. Mainly I have the advantage that I work very close to my house, but of people who have to spend sometimes an hour and a half back and forth. So that has to change.
And believe it or not, our time is up. Have you ever seen half an hour fly by so quickly?
Well, that happens when you have an interesting talk with somebody like you. Thank you, Jennylyn.
Oh, thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this interview with you. Your English is great. I'm very impressed, better than mine. And I thank you for the good work you're making in the lives of young people. I think every teacher, doctor, nurse, everyone in the service industry ought to be commended. And I'm sure there are many wonderful men and women out there in the world that you played a part in their life. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you,
Jennylyn. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Stay COVID free. And thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired, like this one.